Chapter 2242, Captain of the Guard, Banshee. Banshee could hold back no longer. He had to intervene and stop Liang Yu and Bam. Damned intruders. I'll kill you both as swiftly as possible. Bam leapt down from the palace walls, arms raised high with his massive crescent blade, charging straight toward Liang Yu, the closest target. Because Liang Yu stood there, waiting for him to engage in battle. Two enhancement ability users closed in rapidly, blades raised. Both possessed absolute confidence in their close-quarters combat skills, neither yielding an inch. Like a collision of Mars and Earth, they met at point-blank range with a single, unadorned clash. Bang! The crescent blade struck the parting hook. The immense recoil force startled both combatants. The sheer power of their opponent delivered a crushing sense of pressure. Liang Yu thought to herself, thankfully, Karen forged this armor for me. Otherwise, purely in terms of brute strength, I wouldn't stand a chance against him. Lizard men possessed a physique far superior to humans by nature. Moreover, Banshee's ability index far exceeded Liang Yu's, making this outcome hardly surprising. Yet Liang Yu had come fully prepared and felt no fear whatsoever. Their weapons clashed violently, yet neither chose to retreat. Instead, they launched into a frenzied, close-quarters assault, neither willing to yield. The crescent blade and parting hook whirled into afterimages, a pure collision of raw power. The thunderous roar shook the earth like an earthquake, the air itself exploding. Many soldiers nearby had their eardrums ruptured. Their bodies were locked in a deadly embrace, never more than 3 meters apart. The crescent blade's edge was razor-sharp, while the parting hook, beyond its own lethality, possessed backward-facing barbs capable of snagging limbs and slashing them cleanly. Such close-quarters combat was perilous beyond measure, a single lapse could mean certain death. Yet both combatants were masters of this brutal art. Liang Yu felt a pang of surprise. In terms of martial combat skill, she had already reached the theoretical pinnacle achievable by a human. Yet the Banshee before her showed no sign of falling behind her. This was inevitable. After all, the Wulwan Empire had always lived in fear of annihilation, so the entire nation held martial prowess in the highest regard. Banshee had risen to the position of Imperial Guard commander precisely because of his formidable combat ability. Their close-quarters combat was fraught with mortal danger, a spectacle terrifying enough to make spectators' hearts race. Fortunately, their movements were so swift that to outsiders, they appeared only as a dense blur of afterimages, swept up in a surging storm. Yang Xinxin didn't glance at Liang Yu, she trusted Liang Yu's strength was more than sufficient to handle such an opponent. Behind her, the colossal fallen angel puppet hovered, beginning to move step by step toward the Imperial Palace. Halt! Do not approach. Imperial guards raised their rifles, cold sweat beading on their foreheads, yet they still shouted defiantly, attempting to suppress their inner terror through sheer bravado. They understood clearly, this seemingly frail, petite human woman before them was undoubtedly terrifying. Yang Xinxin remained silent. Yet the next instant, the soldier holding the spear suddenly exploded with a bang. Green blood splattered everywhere. Beside him, a lizard-man soldier aimed his spear directly at the fallen soldier's head. This lady is our master. No one is permitted to harm her. No one is permitted to disobey her. A third of the Imperial Guards had been struck by Yang Xinxin's arrows. Thus, without any surprise, they became her slaves. Chaos erupted among the guards, for only those hit by arrows knew who their allies were, meaning everyone except those who had raised their guns against Yang Xinxin was now on their side. Ordinary soldiers, however, couldn't discern this. Thus, they soon began slaughtering each other in a brutal melee. The energy shield meant for defense quickly vanished from sight, having lost all control. Before Yang Xinxin, no one could block her path. Whenever someone attempted to attack her, they were either killed by those around her or had lizard men soldiers shield her with their bodies. In truth, with the high-ranking demon god armor that Yang Xinxin now wore, ordinary lizard men attacks posed no real threat to her life. Banshee was locked in a deadly struggle with Liang Yu, now completely entangled by her. As he sensed Yang Xinxin ascending the steps toward the palace gates, panic seized him, exposing a critical opening. Liang Yu seized the moment without hesitation. Her parting hook slashed through the air, leaving countless afterimages as it unleashed thousands of slash in an instant, targeting Banqi's groin, throat, and eyes. Banqi snapped back to his senses, but that split-second distraction had already placed him on the defensive. His sturdy armor blocked over a dozen of Liang Yu's strikes, but at a cost. Horrifying gashes marred the plate, and the powerful force coursing through his body felt like his internal organs were being tossed in a washing machine. Banqi snapped awake. This woman before him demanded his absolute focus. The slightest lapse would mean death. Thus, Banqi had no time for hesitation. He clenched his muscles to stem the bleeding, then raised his crescent blades to fight. The blade's design was peculiar, resembling two curved swords, yet wielded more like a flail. They could be raised to block incoming strikes. Yet their slender swords proved ineffective against Liang Yu's parting hook. With a single flick and tug of her hook, she instantly deflected his strikes. Banqi now understood, his opponents had come fully prepared. Even this warrior woman's weapon had been specifically tailored for him. This realization sparked a new strategy in Banqi's mind. The crescent blade swung with arm-driven force, aiming for Liang Yu's throat. Liang Yu flipped her wrist, deftly parrying the attack with her parting hook. She hooked the blade and closed in for a counter. But suddenly, an unexpected twist occurred. The crescent blade she had hooked snapped with a crack. The blade and hilt separated. A long chain connected the blade to the hilt. So this weapon could also function as a flexible weapon. Caught off guard, Liang Yu's grip instantly lost its force. Clang! Banqi exerted force, and the crescent blade began spinning around Liang Yu at high speed, like a flail. Liang Yu frowned, immediately holding the parting hook at her side for defense. Yet she hadn't anticipated that the true attack wasn't the crescent blade or the chain. Instead, as the blade spun relentlessly, a peculiar air current rapidly coalesced. In a fleeting instant, the current surged violently, as if something were about to explode. Suddenly, Liang Yu, positioned at the very center of the current, felt as though an energy sphere had detonated outside her body. Chapter 2243, Armor of the End. Boom! Indeed, the air had exploded. The power erupting from Banqi was channeled through the meteor chain, then concentrated near Liang Yu's body. Upon reaching a critical point, it violently compressed the air currents into an air bullet. Meteor blast. Seeing his attack land, a smug curve lifted at the corner of Banqi's mouth. This sudden shift, from close combat to ranged assault, was a move he was certain the human woman before him would never anticipate. As the dust cleared, Liang Yu swiftly broke free, creating distance between herself and Banqi. That strike had indeed caught her off guard, but it wasn't enough to intimidate her. Her protective chi could withstand an attack of this caliber. At most, the element of surprise caused her chi and blood to surge violently. Her little finger brushed against her armor, bringing a flicker of relief. It had played a significant role in absorbing the blow without inflicting serious injury. Clank clank clank, the sound of chains echoed as Banqi manipulated his meteor chain, suspending the crescent blade midair. The weapon's previously bizarre form now seemed far more logical. Appearing as a long sword, it could actually transform into a flying axe. Liang Yu glanced down at her parting hook. Against a flexible weapon like this, its strengths would become weaknesses. Given that, Liang Yu sheathed the parting hook and drew a new pair of weapons. A pair of bronze warhammers. Small warhammers, their heads no larger than fists, handles barely a foot long, they looked like miniature toys. Facing the opponent's flexible weapon, Liang Yu opted for close-quarters combat. And considering the heavy armor the enemy wore, hammers were excellent weapons for piercing armor. Seeing the weapons in Liang Yu's hands, Banqi raised an eyebrow. Lizard folk didn't use such small weapons. He was curious, how exactly did this opponent plan to fight? Oh? He held his crescent blade in front of him with his left hand while manipulating the chain with his right. It was unclear whether the crescent blade in her left hand could also be thrown, but that possibility had to be considered. Most likely, it was dual purpose for both melee and ranged combat. Liang Yu slowly lowered her body, her long, elegant form honed to perfection, like a black panther. Suddenly, Liang Yu became a black whirlwind, a fleeting shadow charging toward Banqi. And Banqi didn't hesitate either. He whipped the chain in his right hand, sending the crescent blade hurtling toward Liang Yu like lightning. The air itself seemed to condense. Once it closed to a certain distance, it would form an air bullet, detonating directly at close range. Yang Xinxin ascended the sacred steps leading to the imperial palace. No one could halt her advance, for countless lizard soldiers had perished in her path. Even those who managed to close in, attempting to strike, met their end before they could act, their bodies self-declaring death. Mimetic virus, within a certain radius centered on Yang Xinxin, arrows could transform into microscopic particles. Any body that touched them would become a slave to Yang Xinxin's power. You believe the air you breathe is deadly poison causing death. You believe your brain cells are lacking energy supplies causing death. You believe your existence is meaningless. Self-destruction is your only fate causing death. Under these rules, all are sacrifices. No one could approach Yang Xinxin, a bishop-tier being. She was like a colossal plague, bringing death to every enemy around her. All could only watch with horrified eyes as she ascended to the holy tier, arriving before the immense and magnificent facade of the imperial palace. Gold seemed to be the universal precious metal in this world, even the lizard folk used it for costly adornments. The massive palace gates gleamed golden, inlaid with dazzling multicolored gems. Yang Xinxin recognized them instantly. These were energy stones of exceptionally high level. The entire palace complex was also equipped with a sophisticated defense system. With a casual wave, her face devoid of emotion, the fallen angel puppet extended its long arm, drew the bow of judgment, and unleashed a razor-sharp Hersher's arrow toward the palace gates. Nothing obstructed its path, it struck true. In the next instant, the massive doors, standing for countless ages and boasting formidable defenses, exploded with a thunderous boom. Amidst the shattering debris, a colossal figure materialized before Yang Xinxin. A mecha, a gigantic mecha. Pitch black in color, its 30-meter-tall frame radiated a weighty sense of history and an aura of cruelty that stirred visceral revulsion. It stood before Yang Xinxin. Its form resembled a colossal lizard man, though compared to modern lizard men, it retained more of the primordial lizard man's features, its body slightly hunched. More than a lizard man, it resembled a gigantic Tyrannosaurus rex. Yang Xinxin's gaze darkened. A forbidden artifact forged with resentment power. The oldest and most potent emotion within humanity is fear, and the oldest and most potent fear stems from the unknown. Thus, such a forbidden entity came into being. By sacrificing countless lives, harnessing the fear of death and negative emotions like loathing and resentment generated at the moment of death, a powerful forbidden weapon capable of countering mutant beings was forged. Examples include the Vajra subduing demon scepter of Tantra and the spear of Longinus, both utilizing this principle. The greater the number of sacrificed lives, the more intense the fear and resentment, the greater the forbidden weapon's power. The ancient lizard-like mecha before Yang Xinxin was the ultimate weapon forged by the imperial family of the Wulwan Empire, the armor of the end. Its activation signaled the Wulwan Empire's most perilous hour. Emperor Sui personally piloted this weapon. Only those bearing imperial blood could pass its genetic recognition and command this formidable mecha. It stood before the shattered palace gates, its cold eyes radiating an intense, deathly stillness. That overwhelming aura of death, resentment, and fear of mortality chilled the soldiers on the battlefield and Liang Yu and the others to the bone, even from a great distance. Sui faced Yang Xinxin, his gaze as cold as swords. Do not underestimate the billion-year legacy of the Wulwan Empire, you bastard. Today, I, Sui Sorrentos Dragonis, Emperor of the Wulwan Empire, shall personally end your life. The flames of war continued to spread. In the eastern sector, Wulwan Empire forces were being driven back step by step, retreating into the city to engage in urban warfare. Chapter 2244, Uncle Yu, Upgraded Version. The victories or defeats of ordinary soldiers could never sway the ultimate outcome of the war. All eyes were fixed on the high-level mutants to decide the battle's end. As a war machine, Uncle Yu, clad in heavy armor, charged headlong into the enemy's ranks. His armor itself was forged from materials salvaged and re-engineered from the carcass of a high-ranking demon god. Now, his arms, bones, and blood vessels had undergone extensive cybernetic enhancements, transforming him into a semi-mechanical life form. In this state, he was born for battle, capable of fighting non-stop for 7 days and nights without faltering. His heavily armored frame advanced to the front lines. Countless firing ports opened, unleashing meteor-like lasers that shot skyward, locking onto the swarm of lizard men soldiers ahead. The streaks of light flashed by like a laser light show, yet sliced through the lizard soldiers' bodies as easily as a hot sword through butter. In a mere instant, a single strike claimed the lives of over 1,000 lizard soldiers. This terrifying spectacle sent a chill through the lizard soldiers holding the defensive line. Monster. A monster. They frantically raised their weapons to attack, yet even their standard energy arms, even large-caliber energy cannons, failed to dent Uncle Yu. His body was shielded by a mechanical civilization's energy barrier, capable of nullifying most energy-based assaults. Moreover, this was an upper-tier demon god-level energy defense module. Its grade was so high that any energy attack below Epsilon level simply couldn't breach it. The battle had now spilled into the city streets, where fire raged everywhere, combat erupting at every turn. Gigantic, colossal mechanical life forms stormed into the urban district like mountains, ruthlessly demolishing buildings and obliterating soldiers and city defenses concealed within the towering structures. The Mechanical Legion and human warriors formed combat units in groups of 3. A heavily armored mechanical soldier took the vanguard, deploying energy shields to withstand the lizardmen's energy weapon fire. 1 or 2 human warriors then counterattacked under its cover. This time-tested combat system proved exceptionally effective in urban warfare. Multiple 3-man squads coordinated seamlessly, forming a colossal meat grinder that swept relentlessly from the eastern city limits. All encountered forces, Wulwan Empire soldiers, mechanical war beasts, or ordinary lizard men, were slaughtered without mercy, leaving no survivors. As a race where every member served in the military, all lizard folk underwent military training for a time, including the females. They could shed their armor to become civilians or don it to become combat units. The safest approach was to destroy every lizard folk in sight. Uncle Yu stood fearlessly at the very front of the battle line. The devastation he wrought surpassed even that of the terrifying, colossal mechanical life form. His strikes were far more precise. Whether delivering instant kills to single targets or unleashing area of effect attacks, his power was sufficient to shatter a meticulously constructed defensive line in an instant. Naturally, the lizard folk would not sit idly by and await their doom. As Uncle Yu strode down the city's boulevards, mowing down lizard men like ruthless grass-cutting, a sudden hiss erupted from a nearby alleyway. Slashing my kin like vegetables? That's not quite right, is it? Upon hearing the voice, Uncle Yu immediately pinpointed the speaker's location using his advanced intelligence system. Without a moment's hesitation, Uncle Yu spun around and raised his left hand. An energy cannon instantly coalesced in his palm. He identified his enemy, a squadron of lizard men clad in pure white combat armor appeared at the target coordinates. They looked exceptionally elegant, and their uniform style was entirely different from the lizard men soldiers he'd encountered before. These are the personal guard of a garrison commander. Uncle Yu was well aware of this intelligence. Within the Wulwan Empire, any officer holding the rank of Silver Armor General or higher was at minimum a garrison commander or deputy commander of a military district. Their personal guards, distinguished by their distinct attire from ordinary lizardmen soldiers, possessed significantly greater combat prowess. By human standards, each possessed the strength of a captain level. But Uncle Yu certainly didn't take these minions seriously. He had already confirmed the identity of the approaching figure. No, it was more accurate to say he had deliberately pursued them to this location. Northern Sector Garrison Commander, Brad. As Uncle Yu's voice faded, the white armored guards parted to reveal a short lizard man stepping forward. His stature was even shorter than the average lizard man, especially when contrasted with his towering bodyguards. Beneath his deliberately lowered white military cap, a face that still looked rather youthful was visible. He kept his head bowed, glancing at Uncle Yu only out of the corner of his eye. Both hands cradled a handheld device, as if he were playing a game. "Now then, how shall we proceed with this interesting game?" He offered a faint smile. Setting aside his lizard-like features, he was actually a remarkably handsome youth. "You seem quite fond of war games. Well then, allow me to join you." After speaking, he lowered his head again, his fingers dancing rapidly across the electronic device, seemingly oblivious to the formidable black chariot-level foe before him. But almost instantly, the white-clad guardsmen beside him swept their sleeves and charged toward Uncle Yu amid the howling wind. Uncle Yu didn't underestimate them. Instead, he called for backup through the voice channel. "Target acquired, Neza." His words hadn't even faded when the white-clad warriors closed in on Uncle Yu. Their faces bore no expression, like lifeless puppets. Suddenly, a white-clad warrior crouched down in the distance. A complex mosaic pattern materialized in his hand, transforming into a weapon resembling a cartoon rocket launcher, which he shouldered. But when he pulled the trigger, a terrifyingly powerful beam shot straight toward Uncle Yu. The sheer power of this strike far exceeded what a mere captain-level bodyguard could muster. Uncle Yu showed no surprise whatsoever. An energy shield unfolded before him, meeting the attack head-on. Boom! The energy cannon slammed into the shield. Its immense energy was instantly dispersed by the shield's specialized diversion mechanism, not neutralized, but redirected elsewhere. The remaining force was insufficient to harm Uncle Yu.